A lot of people might not still understand how to play the Unity Cup properly. There are 5 simple tips to help you get higher rank Umas in your Unity Cup career runs. First up, this is probably the most important tips if you want to high roll your ace or your runs. On your last Riko Unity Cup race, it is really important to adjust your team before you fight Riko. I don't usually adjust my team for any other races besides Riko. Riko is the only most important one because it is the hardest and the easiest to lose. For example, here on my El Condor Pasta Team Trials run, we can see that the AI automatically puts in Haru Urara on the sprint distance. This is obviously trolling and it's breaking my run because you could adjust the teams and have better win rate overall. You can also adjust your better Umas to the other style as well so you have better chance of winning every style. For example, here my two best Umas are in the medium distance. We can see that Marvelous Sunday and Kita-san, who have the B ranks, are both in the medium distance. Kita-san is also good in a long distance racetrack, so I moved this B rank Uma into the long distance racetrack so that I have better chance of winning both the medium and the long distance. You can also see here that the AI actually benched my B rank Sweep Tosho, which is, as you can see, is better than any of the other runners on my Mal team. If you do this, you will have a higher chance of winning against Riko. It is also important to win against Riko because it will give you plus 9 on all stats and 70 skill points at the end of the URA final, which is really huge. And this brings us to the next step, that is choosing the second option of the race if the Unity race on the first option looks really risky. A lot of people might not know which race to choose in the Unity Cup, right? In general, if it looks too risky, then always go for the sure option, which is the second one. Okay, but you might ask me, Tordil, how do you know if it's risky? In general, if you see 3 aptitude style that doesn't have circle or at least double circle, it is risky to do the race. If you see 3 or more races with triangle or X symbol, then do not do that race. You have a very high chance of just simply losing. For example, in this run, I had 2x, 1 double circle, and 2 triangles. This is very risky to run, so I choose the second option instead, which have 3 double circle and 2 circle. Why is this actually important? Losing a Unity Cup race is also a very huge demerit for your run and your whole team, as you are losing a lot on the stats for the whole team if you lose the race. Also, if you lose a single race, you might get your upgraded facilities training later on. Technically, you are delaying your facilities upgrade. On some runs, you can get level 5 trainings as early as the summer trainings. But if you are losing some races, you might get it at best at like URA final, which means you're missing a lot of on those stats. It is fine to also keep going on certain cases. For example, if you lose a single race on your team trial horse, it is fine. But for Ace's run, this is a huge no-no in my opinion because you're just losing too much stats for it and it's not worth it. I just want to add an important note here that it is always best to raise the first and the second option because you want higher ranks for your team. If you are above the 5th rank, you get a bonus 50 all stats for your Uma in your Unity team. If you are above 10 position, you only get plus 30 on all stats. This will help a lot when you get matched with Riko later on. Here is the next tip. This mode is also very snowbally if you might have noticed. If you lose the first Unity Cup race, just save your sanity and just restart the run. It is not worth it to continue the run because if you lose the first Unity race, you have a high chance your team lineup doesn't have good enough stats for the next one and it just keeps repeating. So you keep losing the second race, you lose the third race, and so on, and your whole run is just brick. At max, losing one race is fine, but just not the first one. It is fine to lose, let's say, the third or the fourth race. Okay, that's basically the whole race mechanics. Now, let's get into the gameplay tips, shall we? As always, prioritize Spirit Explosion in the early years. This will be your main strategy for the junior year up to the classic year. You can start to care less about Spirit Explosion by the start of the senior year and just prioritize your UMA stat in the senior year because we already get a pretty good facility training levels. However, in the early years, you want to explode as much Spirit Bomb as you can. The reasoning behind this is simple. If you explode more Spirit Bombs, your team gets higher stats overall, and it will just help you win the Unity Cup race as well. It will help you snowball your training facilities so you get higher level training facilities soon. This also brings us to the next step of the training itself. I'm going to assume that you are running a with maxing tag because it is the default option for the Unity Cup due to the energy management being so high and crucial. In the junior year, you always prioritize with card training bonds. You want to hit rainbow trainings with them as soon as possible. Riko bonds should also be prioritized until green so you can hit the recreation early with Riko. I would say that speed card bond priority would be actually the last, as early level 1 or 2 speed rainbow training doesn't give that much value for your UMA yet. The reason we want rainbow training with card as fast as possible is that clicking with give you more energy to get the spirit explosion bar up, which just becomes a repeating cycle. You click the with button, get the fireball gauge up, get more energy, click training with fireball, you click with again, you get more energy, and you keep clicking training with the fireball. I always prioritize with rainbow training over, let's say, one speed rainbow training that is not really good. Okay, we've come to the last tip. It is on how to use the recoding event correctly. For a lot of you, this might be the first time you are using friend cards. If you have never used Azuna or Aoi before in the URA finale, you might not know how to use this recreation properly. You simply use this to replace your rest button. The huge benefit is you can avoid the night owl. A very good example to use this is on what I usually call the dead turns or turns where there is no good training. For example, there are no rainbow trainings, and usually on this turn, the obvious choice is to just press with, press rest button, or you go out on a race. Now, with recoding recreation, you can just press that button. Also, do note that if your energy bar is high, it is usually just better to save this recreation and do a race or simply just press with. The easy way to know when to use this is that if you think of hitting the rest button, Rico button is usually more optimal because you're getting stamina, guts, energy, and possibly even fix your mood if it's not good. That's it. That's basically all the 5 tips you need to know to help with your Unity Cup career runs. I hope you start getting higher rank UMAs for your career runs. As always, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.